Thank you, Nina Enrique. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. The Philippines reaffirmed its commitment to strengthening cooperation with Japan and the United States for a free and open Indo-Pacific region. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. hosted Japanese Foreign Minister Iwaya Takeshi at the Malacanang Palace during the minister's two-day visit to Manila. Firefighters are on high alert tonight, bracing for powerful winds that could intensify flames. Crews are taking an aggressive stance, positioning fire engines and patrols in high-risk areas yet to be impacted.
Life-threatening and destructive and widespread winds are already here. For this significant wind event, we are taking an aggressive lean-forward posture, and the LAFD has staffed all available resources, strategically placing fire patrols and engines in the unimpacted, high fire risk areas in the city.
And the news starts now. The Philippines reaffirmed its commitment to strengthening cooperation with Japan and the United States for a free and open Indo-Pacific region. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. hosted Japanese Foreign Minister Iwaya Takeshi at the Malacanang Palace during the minister's two-day visit to Manila. Take a look.
To once again reiterate our commitment to the tripartite agreement and to the elements within the agreement, that we have done a great deal of work since the signing of the agreement, and I hope that we will be able to show you. I think the DFA, the Department of Foreign Affairs, has already been able to give you a overview of at least the diplomatic side of what we have been doing in terms of the tripartite agreement.
The Philippines is a strategic partner for Japan as we share fundamental values and principles. In today's international community, where divisions and conflicts are becoming more serious, the cooperation among like-minded countries is becoming increasingly important. In order to realize a free and open Indo-Pacific, I would like to ask Your Excellency's continued support in strengthening cooperation between Japan and the Philippines on security issues and other global affairs.
The meeting followed Marcos's recent virtual discussion with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and U.S. President Joe Biden, where the leaders reaffirmed their commitment to regional security and economic stability, building on the 2024 landmark trilateral agreement signed in Washington. Japan, which announced its biggest military buildup since World War II in 2023, has no claims in the South China Sea, but remains locked in a maritime dispute with China in the East China Sea, where tensions have flared repeatedly. Last year, Japan signed a landmark defense pact with the Philippines, enabling troop deployments on each other's soil. Manila also became one of the first recipients of Japan's official security assistance program, designed to boost partner countries' defense capabilities. Meanwhile, the Philippines continues to face maritime confrontations with China as disputes over features in the South China Sea within Manila's exclusive economic zone.
南シナ海において、地域の緊張を高める行為が繰り返されているということについては深刻に懸念をしております。南シナ海をめぐる問題は、この地域の平和と安定に直結する、国際社会の正当な関心事項だと思っておりまして、我が国は力による一方的な現状変更の試みや、地域の緊張を高めるいかなる行為にも強く反対をいたしますとともに、緊張の緩和を強く求めているところでございます。今日の会談ではこうした南シナ海情勢を受けて、日フィリピン間の連携を一層強化していくことで一致を見ました。特に OSA による海洋安全保障や ODA による海上保安能力の向上といったフィリピンに対する支援を引き続き進めてまいりたいと考えております。
Our strengthened strategic partnership with Japan plays a very important role in our efforts to enhance our national security, but also regional peace and stability.
Meanwhile, Vietnam and Russia signed agreements on nuclear energy and technology cooperation during Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin's visit to Hanoi. Vietnam, looking to revive its long-suspended nuclear program to meet growing industrial power demands, signed a deal between state power utility EVN and Russia's atomic energy firm Rosatom. The details of the agreement haven't been disclosed. Both countries also inked deals on digital economy partnerships and wireless communications. Russia remains a key military supplier to Vietnam, with its oil and gas firms operating in Vietnam's South China Sea territory, some areas also claimed by China. Vietnam continues to balance ties with Moscow, Washington, and Beijing amid these strategic agreements. Meanwhile, impeached South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol was arrested and questioned by authorities today in relation to a criminal insurrection investigation. And he said he was only cooperating with what he called an illegal probe to avoid violence. Take a look.
South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol was arrested Wednesday, a first for a sitting president of the country. It's the latest turn in a political crisis sparked by his short-lived declaration of martial law last month, which eventually saw Yoon hiding out at his residence for weeks protected by personal security to avoid authorities who wanted to detain him on grounds of insurrection. More than 3,000 police officers marched on Yoon's residence Wednesday, and a motorcade later took him to the country's anti-corruption agency, the CIO, or the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials. South Korean journalists snapped the moment he stepped out of the car and into the agency's offices in Gwacheon, just south of Seoul. Investigators have 48 hours to question him. After that, they must release him or seek a warrant to detain him for longer. In a video message recorded before his detention, Yoon said he turned himself in for questioning to avoid any bloodshed and disputed the legality of the investigation and arrest.
Today, when I saw them break into the security area using firefighting equipment, I decided to respond to the CIO's investigation, despite it being an illegal investigation, to prevent unsavory bloodshed. However, that doesn't mean I am acknowledging the investigation of the CIO.
정말 감사의 말씀을 드립니다.
회전으로 역주행해서 나가셨다고 합니다. 일단 상황은 여기 종료됐고 대통령 관저엔 대통령이 없습니다.
Our president is doing well, and our foreign relations are also being handled well. But the opposition Democratic Party are imposing so many sanctions, which has made it difficult to conduct proper and good politics. And today, the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials CIO came out and said they would arrest him. It's just so heartbreaking, and I'm tearing up.
I've been following the news since this morning on my way to work. Honestly, I thought that this whole situation was mishandled, and my opinion was that the president should be impeached. But when I saw his face, Yoon, on the screen today, I suddenly felt a pang of sympathy as a fellow citizen. Earlier in the morning, scuffles broke out between Yoon's supporters and police who were trying to arrest him. Many of his supporters have compared his situation and that of US President-elect Donald Trump, who claimed voter fraud contributed to his election defeat in 2020. Yoon has also made unsubstantiated claims of election fraud, one of the reasons he gave to justify his short-lived martial law declaration. His lawyers have said the arrest warrant is illegal. They say it was issued by a court in the wrong jurisdiction, and the team set up to investigate him has no legal mandate to do so. Lawmakers voted to impeach Yoon last month after his martial law order on December 3rd ushered in unprecedented political turmoil. In a previous attempt to arrest Yun on January 3rd, the Presidential Security Service and military guards blocked CIO investigators in a 6-hour standoff. The agency has since apologized for initially failing to arrest Yun on that day. Separately, the country's constitutional court is deliberating whether to uphold Yun's impeachment and permanently remove him from office or restore his presidential powers.
Firefighters are on high alert tonight, bracing for powerful winds that could intensify flames. Crews are taking an aggressive stance, positioning fire engines and patrols in high-risk areas yet to be impacted.
Life-threatening and destructive and widespread winds are already here. For this significant wind event, we are taking an aggressive lean-forward posture, and the LAFD has staffed all available resources, strategically placing fire patrols and engines in the unimpacted high fire risk areas in the city. We are carefully managing our operations to ensure that we can quickly respond to any new fires, in addition to the increased call volume across the city of Los Angeles. I urge, and everybody here urges you to remain alert as danger has not yet passed. Please follow all evacuation warnings and orders without delay and prioritize your safety.
Severe fire weather conditions will continue through tomorrow. The worst winds are predicted today for the late afternoon and into Wednesday. Please be assured that the Los Angeles County region is prepared. The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in the LA region critical.
Some 8,500 firefighters from at least 7 states and 2 foreign countries prevented the blazes from growing for the second day running. Still, the fires have consumed an area the size of Washington, D.C. The Palisades fire on the west edge of town held steady at 23,713 acres, burned, and containment nudged up to 18%. A measurement of how much of the perimeter was under control. The Eaton fire in the foothills east of the city stood at 14,117 acres with containment at 35%. Southern California has lacked any appreciable rain since April, turning brush into tinder as Santa Ana winds originating from the deserts whipped over hilltops and rushed through canyons, sending embers flying up to 2 miles ahead of the fires. The death toll from the fires rose by 1 on Tuesday to 25, according to the Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office. The estimate of structures damaged or destroyed held steady at over 12,000, still portending a Herculean rebuilding effort ahead. The red flag warning has now been extended through much of tomorrow, with conditions expected to remain challenging into next week. The loss of a home is a devastating blow. Now, when that home is consumed by wildfire, the heartbreak deepens. But to lose a home to a raging inferno without the safety net of insurance, now that's a life-shattering event. Take a look.
Having such a destructive hurricane season, a very destructive tornado season with lots of tornadoes across the United States, and now just a few days into 2025, a significant historic disaster in terms of wildfire across Southern California. That is a state that's known for wildfires, and in California and particularly Southern California. But what was so different about this is that it occurred in a densely populated area with some of the most expensive real estate in the entire country. That's why this disaster is clearly going to become California's most costly wildfire in modern times, and may become one of, if not the top, most disastrous wildfire and damaging and costly wildfire in U.S. modern history.
Los Angeles is currently grappling with the devastation of wildfires, yet just months ago, thousands of residents saw their insurance policies abruptly canceled, leaving them utterly unprotected. This begs the question, why are so many Los Angeles homes left uninsured? State Farm, once a stalwart in the region, has dramatically retreated. They canceled 30,000 policies last year. including a staggering number in the affluent Pacific Palisades, where homes typically command multi-million-dollar prices. Now, many of these once opulent residences lie in ashes, their owners left destitute. State Farm is not alone. Other insurers are also pulling back, leaving a trail of vulnerable homeowners in their wake. Between 2020 and 2022, California saw a staggering 2.8 million policies dropped, over 500,000 of which were in Los Angeles. Those who clung to their policies faced a different kind of disaster: skyrocketing premiums. One homeowner saw their annual costs quadruple, from a manageable $4,500 to a crippling $18,000. This mass exodus of insurers stems from a confluence of factors. Driven by profit motives, companies increasingly rely on AI-powered risk models. As climate change intensifies wildfire risks, these models flag high-risk areas, leading to mass cancellations. State Farm, for instance, reported staggering losses in recent years, prompting them to prioritize their bottom line by scaling back coverage.
You know, one of the problems that we're facing here is that the insurance industry started pulling out of certain areas in California. That forced many consumers onto the California FAIR plan, which is our insurer of last resort, which means they have too many policies now. And in the meantime, insurance companies were not crediting consumers for having taken significant steps to protect their homes from wildfire. I spoke to a homeowner who basically rebuilt their home in concrete and still got canceled by their insurance company because of fire risk. So we need new protections in place to prevent insurance companies from abandoning consumers who do the right thing and harden their homes, meet state wildfire guidelines for brush clearance and home protection. That way we can make sure that Californians who do the right thing can maintain their coverage. We create an incentive for other consumers to do that in the future, and we stabilize the home insurance market. So that is a reform that's desperately needed in California to start getting insurance companies covering Californians again.
California has taken a step in the right direction by mandating coverage in wildfire zones. Yet for those who have already lost everything, this measure comes too late. The burning of homes is more than just a property loss. It's a devastating blow to lives and futures. And this crisis demands urgent and comprehensive solutions. Melania Trump is set to return to the White House, mostly living there once she resumes her role as First Lady. Now that's a shift from earlier reports suggesting she might not make the move to Washington. Speaking to Fox News, Melania confirmed she's already prepared for the transition.
I will be in the White House, and you know, when I need to be in New York, I will be in New York. When I need to be in Palm Beach, I will be in Palm Beach. But my first priority is, you know, to be a mom, to be a First Lady, to be a wife. And once we are in on January 20, it's you serve the country.
She also took a swipe at the Obama administration, claiming the 2017 move was tough because some information was withheld.
Much of the information was upheld for us from previous administration, but this time I have everything. I have the plans. I could move in. I already packed. I already selected the furniture that needs to go in. So it's very different transition this time.
Melania has kept a low profile lately, missing much of her husband's re-election campaign and his hush money trial in New York. Her only public remarks about Donald Trump came after the assassination attempt last July. Rumors of a separation swirled, but she reappeared in October to promote her memoir and a documentary on Amazon Prime detailing her return to the White House. In the interview, she opened up about her role in the Trump presidency, revealing this.
I have my own thoughts. I have my own yes and no. I don't always agree what my husband is saying or doing, And that's okay. I don't want to hire too many people on my team and spending too much taxpayer money. I want to make sure that every position they are talented, they have merit, they know what they're doing, and as well as they are team player. They don't have their own agenda, so they're serving me, they're serving my office, and they're serving the country.
She also reflected on her earlier years in the White House, feeling unaccepted by the public.
I feel I was always me the first time as well. I just feel that people didn't accept me maybe.
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back. Russia launched a new barrage of missiles and drones on Ukraine today, targeting gas infrastructure and other energy facilities in western regions in the latest strike on the country's hubbled power system as it approaches midwinter. President Volodymyr Zelensky said that the Russian forces launched over 40 missiles during the morning attack and used more than 70 drones overnight. Ukrainian air defenses shot down at least 30 missiles, he said. The capital, Kiev, also came under attack, with hundreds of residents taking shelter in underground metro stations across the capital, sleeping on yoga mats and sitting on folded chairs with their pets. The governor of Ukraine's western Lviv region said 2 energy facilities in the Drohobych and Steri districts were damaged. In neighboring Ivano-Frankivsk, the governor said air defenses were fending off Russian attacks on facilities. As the U.S. sanctions target Russian oil producers and vessels, China's and India's search for alternative crude supplies intensifies, further disrupting global oil trade. With Moscow's key export routes now restricted, Asian refiners are scrambling to secure new sources as oil prices hit their highest levels in months.
Chinese and Indian refiners are scouring the globe for supplies of crude, according to traders speaking to Reuters. It follows a move by the US last week to impose sanctions on Russian oil producers Gazprom Neft and Surgutneft Gas, plus 183 vessels that have shipped Russian oil. The sanctions target revenues Moscow has used to fund its war with Ukraine. On Monday, China reiterated its opposition to unilateral US sanctions. Many of the tankers have been used to ship oil to India and China, as Western sanctions and a price cap shifted trade in Russian oil from Europe to Asia. Some tankers have also shipped oil from Iran, which is also under sanctions. Russian oil exports are expected to be hurt severely by the new sanctions, according to 2 Chinese trade sources. The expected disruption in Russian supply drove global oil prices to their highest in months on Monday. Among the newly sanctioned ships, 143 are oil tankers that handled more than 530 million barrels of Russian crude last year. One analyst told Reuters that's about 42% of the country's total seaborne crude exports. He added that of these, about 300 million barrels were shipped to China, while the bulk of the remainder went to India. The new sanctions could push China and India back into the compliant oil market to seek more supply from the Middle East, Africa and the Americas. Spot prices for Middle East, Africa and Brazilian grades have already risen in recent months on rising demand.
A dramatic rescue unfolded on Lake Waban in Wellesley in Massachusetts Sunday afternoon. Take a look. This chilling video shows firefighters inching across the ice, tethered to shore towards a gaping hole. A dog had fallen through and its owner followed in a desperate attempt to save their pet. Both were stranded far from shore. Now firefighters braved the frigid conditions, pulling the owner to safety first and then returning for the frightened dog. Miraculously, both the owner and their pet were okay after being evaluated at a hospital and a vet clinic. This serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of venturing onto frozen bodies of water. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.